Good morning. We're camping this weekend and we're up in the woods, and I wanted to make a little video of all of the little tips, tricks, improvements, and things that we've done on our motorhome to make it more comfortable when we're camping. And early this morning, I'd like to start the first one because it has to do with a trick we do overnight when the temperatures are cold. It got down in the 30s last night. We're up in the north woods of Wisconsin, and it is November. So one of the things that we do is we cover all of our windows with Reflectix. It's kind of like a bubble wrap that's stiff, and we put it on all of our windows during the night to help cut the heat loss. But then during the day, we take it off again to let the sunshine in. So first thing this morning, before we've even had our coffee, and this is still bedhead, I thought that we would show where the Reflectix is and how we put it up by showing how I take it down. So what we have are the window shades. And this one actually has a screen piece. And here is the Reflectix. We cut each piece to size for the particular window, and then we label it so we know which one goes on which window. And it's just that easy. We take them off and we roll them up and store them away during the day. We don't leave them on all the while that we're camping. If it were really cold, I suppose we could. Over here in the kitchen, the blind kind of holds it into place. Here, let me pull that up. There we go. And again, we just pop it down and we're ready to start the day. Two of the biggest areas of heat loss are up here through the skylight. Look at that, blue sky. And through this little vent in the kitchen area. This is similar to a bathroom vent in your home, and you have no idea how much heat loss you have through this little vent because on the outside it's just a cap with open spaces around it. So we tuck a little one that has cut tabs right over that vent. And this is something we just started trying, is to cut off heat loss up through the cab area. We clipped up one of my quilts. This is the railing from the bunk curtain that we use these little plastic clips with, and we just clipped up a quilt. And we tried that last night for the first time, and it seems to work rather well. During the day, this quilt is folded up and sits on our love seat. So those are our morning hints this morning about our Reflectix. And then after we get a little coffee into us and maybe some breakfast, I'll start filming the rest of the little tips and tricks we do in our 2016 Winnebago View motorhome. Good morning. Now we'll finish up the rest of this video now that we have all the Reflectix down and put away and we're dressed for the morning. We have our coffee. And it's time to kind of go through and do a little tour of the motorhome from front to rear. A lot of these little ideas were helpful and handy. They were thought up by Steve, right, Steve?
Sure.
And me. And from reading other people's blogs and also from watching other YouTubes. And somebody recently did a tour of their RV with all of their little helpful hints. And that gave me an idea to do it for ours. So I thought we could start up in the front. Up here is the bunk area. We've taken the mattress out. We store it in our garage in a nice tarp sling on the wall. And that gives us this additional storage space. We only take the mattress along if the grandkids are coming. And there was also a curtain that ran across the top here on this track. And it was black and it was bulky and it only hung down this far. And the worst part is it would catch in the slide. So we did remove the curtain completely. And I think it gave it more of an open, airy feeling. These are some fabric totes that I gotten from TJ Maxx, and they're oversized. They're pretty big. And they carry things like my knitting, extra canned goods or munchies, my camera equipment. Above is a plastic rolling tote that we put our Starlink in while we're traveling. These are all of our Reflectix from all the windows and the vents, and it rolls up and fits in one box. And we usually store that underneath in a compartment. Excuse me. We don't have a lot of decor in our rig. I try to keep things as neat and open as possible and not cluttered, but this was something special that my friend Vicky made, and we just attached it with a piece of Velcro to the fabric of the overhead area of our console. Now up front here, we've done some interesting things. We've added this desktop arm. It's made to go on a desk, and it's for laptops. And it can swing down in a way. I Velcro strap this laptop down so it can swing out of the way so it doesn't interfere with the airbag while we're traveling. But what's nice is we've mounted this to the seat itself, and it rotates. So we can rotate both of our cockpit seats around to become living room seats. One of the other things that I have here is a little pillow. And it's kind of cute. It was from Steve's mom years ago. It says, "Home is where you hook up." But I use it under my elbow if I'm filming with the camera, or I stick it behind my head if we're driving along and I need a little nap. Up front here, Winnebago's front end is made by Sprinter, and they make these very little small cup holders. They're not very big, and everything tips and falls. So we found these on Amazon, and they snug in quite well with these rubber flanges and don't tip. And they also have access for the handle of a mug. So it really helps when we're traveling, because we do like to drink out of a coffee mug. I do have a special electric 12-volt coffee mug. I'll show you in a little bit when we get to that cabinet. Also, when using the laptop, I do have a 12-volt cord I had ordered for it. So it's not just 110, it's 12-volt. And I can plug it in down here into the cigarette lighter if we're in motion. Or underneath, there's one that's on all the time from the driving batteries. Now, the only problem is, gee whiz, we're going to wear down our driving batteries if we're boondocking somewhere. Well, we have a little device that allows our driving batteries to charge from the solar or from our battery banks. It's called a trickle start. And that I can't show you because it's hooked up underneath the seat. But rest assured, my laptop is not going to drain down our batteries. Another thing we have here is TireMinder. That is a tire pressure monitoring system. Not only do we have it on all 6 tires of the motorhome, we also have it on the 2 tires of the cargo trailer we haul along behind. Factory, whatever, there is a pull-out console cup holder, but it's kind of in the way of your legs, and they're smaller, again, like the ones that were up high. So it is nice to have the little adapters that we put up on the dash. And everything I show you, most everything has come from Amazon. So I will attach some links below in the description. Now, one of the nice things with the Sprinter chassis is they have these pleated accordion fold window shades, which are really nice to put on and take off. We also have a quilted exterior windshield cover that we put on when it's really cold. And that we had on last night, overnight. Let's see, I'm trying to do this one-handed. But there, they strap back for traveling. So that's kind of a handy thing. So when these seats swivel around, the cockpit seats, they have what's called a little booster that goes on each one because the floor in the cockpit is lower than the floor in the rest of the camper. See the step up here? This allows you to sit up higher when you turn it around the other way, and it adds to our seating space. I do notice when we ride, these seats are pretty high, and my legs kind of dangle over here on the passenger side. So we bought this footrest, again, Amazon. It's from CloudBliss. They have different colors and different sizes. It's kind of soft velour, velvety, whatever. And it's squishable. You can unzip it and wash it if you need to. It's a very nice footrest for my feet when we drive. Okay, so that's about it for the cockpit. I can't really think of much else other than there is storage here for other things. Excuse me. The backs of our seats have pouches where we keep all of our paper maps in directories. Yeah, we still rely on paper maps as a backup to the GPS. Now, when we're parked, this slide goes out, which really adds a lot of space to our living room. Here, we'll go like this. There originally was a fold and stow, flip fold couch thing that went here that folded out into a bed, and it was really a pain in the butt. It wasn't very comfortable. So we removed that and we added this love seat. And in the meantime, we also made friends with the people we bought the love seat from. Tom and Lisa had bought it for their bus conversion, and it's from Wilmington, I think it was the name. It's a wholesale RV supply. And what happened is they realized they could put a bigger couch in their bus. So they didn't even really use this. It was like brand new. And they sold it to us. So it is a recliner. Let's see if I can do it. I can't do it from that angle. I'll try it from over here. It has the pull levers. There we go. And it just clears this table post. And sometimes when the littlest grandkid comes, she pops out both of the leg rests and sleeps on here. Now we have two different mounts for our table. When we changed this love seat, the original table post and table was a large rectangular table, and the post was pretty short. And it really didn't work well with the love seat. So we went to the boat seat store. I'm going to move these for a minute. It's our morning coffee. And we ordered a longer post. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Let's see. Okay. We ordered a longer post that came up higher. And also we ordered an extra mount. This is a tray table for charcuterie from Aldi. You could use any type of cocktail tray. First, we glued it down into place, and then we screwed it. The reason why it's offset and not centered is so it can rotate. It can be closer to us or further away, depending on what we're doing. If we have snacks on here while we're watching a movie, or if we're playing cribbage or Yahtzee, it's pretty handy. When the two cockpit chairs are turned around, it goes in this mount, and it becomes a table. We bought these little plastic remote holders off Amazon, and this is a section of glass, so we just stuck them on with Gorilla Tape, clear sticky tape. But those are very handy for holding all the remotes and things. One of the things that we did is we bought this Wi-Fi thermometer. And it's not hooked up right now because it does eat up batteries. We only use it if we're leaving. If the dog is here in the camper, we can access this little thermometer from our phones anywhere we are through Starlink. We can have it send us an alarm if there's, a problem with, maybe the air conditioning went out in the park or the power went out, which is not unusual when there's heavy drawer usage. So we have this little thermometer that we only put the batteries in when we use it. Otherwise, it seems to go through a set of AA or AAA batteries in about a month. If we're only using it once in a while. Then we also have a camera, security camera that we hook up when we're gone, that we can watch the dog. We usually set it over here on the counter. And we can rotate it and watch the dog front or rear and see what he's doing. Usually when we leave, we pull down all the shades. We turn on music or TV program to drown out any outside sounds that he might be inclined to bark at. So we try to keep the barking to a minimum. So the next thing I want to talk about is heating and cooling. We have 5 methods in which to heat our motorhome depending on our camping circumstances. First of all, there's the original gas propane furnace, and that runs through ducts on the floor that are way down here underneath the cabinets and along on the floor. And that is a propane-fired furnace. And if you're an RVer, you know that burns up a lot of battery power. It's very inefficient. And if we're boondocking, again, that wastes a lot of our battery. So we have a couple options or alternatives. The first one is we have a small catalytic heater that we bring in the evenings just to warm up the camper. And we bring that in, it runs off propane. And no power needed for that at all. One of the second options is we have replaced our air conditioner. It had the original Coleman Mach whatever 5 that was very noisy, very inefficient, and just had what was called electric heat strips. We now have the Houghton from RecPro. Now this has heat pump, which is different than the heat strips. And the heat pump is more efficient, and it can run through our roof vents or ceiling vents throughout the rig. It can also run, of course, as an air conditioner, but it even has a dehumidifying mode, so it can help take some of the moisture out that happens when you're closed up, or maybe people are cooking or showering or whatever. So upgrading to this Houghton was not only more beneficial for us for heating and cooling, but it is also a lot quieter. You do have the option to just close off the vents and have it dump directly down out of the unit for quick cooling or heating. Or, like I said, it can run through all the ceiling vents, and I think it heats the entire rig more efficiently. So the next form of heating is kind of cheating. You gotta move there, Stevie-O. Back here in the bedroom, on our bed, we have an electric mattress pad heater. Right, Nick? With dual controls. We can each control what side we want. Sometimes we just turn it on to warm up the bed before we get in, and then once we're in, we can turn it off, turn off the inverter, and we can sleep the rest of the night. It's pretty comfortable. This is a piece of plastic loom, and it contains the wires, because there's 3 or 4 wires hanging down, and that keeps them all nice and neat and tidy. It's hooked up here on little hooks during use, and then when we travel, we unhook it and lay it across the bed. Right, Nick? Do you lay across the bed when we travel? No. But you think you belong here, don't you? When we turn around the cockpit chairs, we use these 2 ottomans as footrests. And they're just little, small, padded ottomans, but they also double as shoe storage. Because as anybody knows, by the doorway, you always end up with a conglomeration of shoes. Excuse me again. As for the doorway, we added this little grid. This came from Camping World, and it helps to prevent our dog from ever pushing through the screen of the screen door. Like so. Isn't that nice? Another thing we added was a little barrel type lock. And this can catch right there. We can reach in from the outside and unlock it if we need to. The reason for this is if we're laying down, taking a nap, and we want the door open for fresh air, this prevents our dog from ever pushing on this. Speaking of pushing, this is a push bar, also from Amazon. It's adjustable. You can mount it on just about any type of RV door, but it prevents us from pushing or pulling on the door itself. It allows us to shut and open the door easily. Hi, dog. Steve took little Nick outside. He says, I want to come in. So, that's about it for the door area. We did add a little bit of artwork from the grandkids. Now in this area, we have a radio. And if you know anything about phantom drains on your battery system, well, we boondock a lot, and this radio has a phantom drain. So Steve wired in a switch from behind to turn it off unless we really need it. And we don't use it that often. We also added extra little hooks within reach of the door to grab our keys from when we're outside. It's easy to come in and grab, rather than some people put a key rack way up here. This way you can just reach in even through the slide and grab what we need. We also use Velcro a lot. This is a little remote for the alarm and the emergency light that we have on the back of our cargo trailer, also within easy grasp. Now down here, something new we added. We originally just had a Level Mate Pro that would help us get level or determine our level through an app on our phone by using little plastic blocks to drive up and down on. A couple weeks ago, we went to Bigfoot, which is down in White Pigeon, Michigan, and we had them install the Bigfoot levelers, and now it's all automatic, just like it was on our Safari. The Level Mate still kind of helps a little bit, tells us if we're level or not, but the Bigfoot's very accurate in getting us level. So that's about it for the doorway area. And now I'll continue in the kitchen. We'll get this off of here. One of the things I try to do is not clutter up the motorhome too much with items in the way. I like to have a little bit of open space for when we're cooking or doing things, serving, and plus it's easier to pack up and leave. So temporarily in the corner, we set our coffee maker each morning, or we perk on the stove if we're boondocking. One thing we did is we removed the 2-basin original sink that was pretty shallow, and we added a single large sink. But we found if we took the original sink covers and cut them down just a teeny bit on that underside lip edge, they would still fit. And look at that, we can put them side by side, and that increases our counter space. Now in our motorhome, we do have quite a bit of storage underneath the sink, more than I think a lot of campers do. On one side we have our garbage can, dog food, and then this is where the coffee maker gets stowed away. There's a popcorn popper back there, and also there's a big, here I'm trying to put down the chair behind me, there's a big tub of Dawn dish soap back here. Now at the top of it, there's a hose that comes up to here. And I love this because I can just do a little squirt of diluted Dawn soap into each dish and do dishes quickly and easily without using a lot of water, especially when we're boondocking. Another one of our helpful hints is these are 2 hair bands. Rubber bands for hair. They're the thicker ones. Chain linked together and put over the faucet. We do that when we're traveling. The reason is, even though we travel with the pump off, if we stop sometimes, let's say we stop to fill a water bottle or to use the bathroom, and if we flick the pump on, you never know if this faucet has bumped forward when we're traveling. Well, If it bumps forward in the bathroom and we turn the pump on out here to fill a water bottle, we're going to have a problem because in the bathroom, the sink's going to be pouring. Or vice versa, if we go in the bathroom and use the pump switch in there and turn it on, you don't know if out here, if the kitchen sink is pouring. So we use them little rubber bands because we have found that they do, on a jostly, bumpy road, these faucets loosen up. That's just kind of one of those extra easy little things. This is a little swing lid garbage can, waste can. My friend Dee gave it to me, my RVing friend Dee from Florida. And it's just the handiest little thing. It actually uses doggy bags for pickup, doggy doo-doo. It's that size, and it's great for little scraps as you're cutting food or little pieces or wrappers, instead of always having to reach down here, especially with wet hands, to get to the big garbage. So that's a really handy thing. Another little invention I made was I was wondering where to put a paper towel holder, and I didn't want it cluttering up the counter. These are heavy-duty magnets. These are little teeny hooks. These are more of my wonderful rubber bands, and this is a nice polished stick with 2 holes in it. So to change the paper towel, all you have to do is undo the hook, slide new roll on. Here's a handy little thing. Tired of your mini blade cords hanging around out of the way or down on the countertop? Just added a little command hook. So, in the upper cupboards, this one contains our dishes and our cups and a few things. There was never a shelf in here, which was kind of crazy, this tall of a cabinet space. I found these little wire stacking metal shelves at Menards, and they have little legs on. They just snap open and they are just the right size. I put them in a couple of the cabinets. Another handy thing, this I got at Big Lots, and it's a little plastic bin with a handle on. I can grab out all my spices at once. Incidentally, this is one of my favorite spices. It's called Harvest Blend Seasoning, no MSG, similar to Mrs. Dash. You can order that online. We use it for almost everything. So that's it for our dishes cabinet. Over here behind our TV, there's storage. Now our TV is weird. It's a 12-volt TV, but they had it plugged into a 110 outlet with a 110 cord. So if you were boondocking on DC, you're basically turning on your inverter to run your DC TV, to run it through AC, to run it back to DC. So instead, Steve rewired the end of it and wired it in direct 12 volts. So we do not need to run the inverter if we are boondocking. The other thing he added was a little kill switch right here to turn it off completely, again, for phantom loads. Our back TV, which is also 12 volt, has a switch, but the front TV didn't, so we added one. The other thing we have, it's not a smart TV, we added Roku sticks. Now the Rokus make it into a smart TV for us, but they are also plugged directly into the TV via USB cable, so they're powered from the TV itself, so we don't need to plug those in either. Up here we have another one of these wonderful shelves. This is where we carry a lot of our electronic stuff. We carry a little inverter in case I just want to run something little and not run the big one. The big one does drain. It's 1,000 watt. We also have a Wii Boost up here. We use it if we really need to get a cellular signal, but we don't leave it up often. Now that we have the Starlink, we can do Wi-Fi calling. But this is our compartment with our electronics. We also have our binoculars in here. But one thing I wanted to mention, the back walls of all of our cabinets have been lined with bubble wrap, with Reflectix. And it made a big difference. You don't get the condensation or the dampness when you have heat loss. There's really very little insulation in the walls of any RV. Every little bit can help. Underneath the cabinets, we have this great row of LED lighting that helps when you're working in the kitchen. Hey, knock it off, dog. But it was only on and off bright. Steve added these little dimmers. Let's see here. Oh, I gotta hit it again. There we go. They can dim down, off, and when you turn back on, they remember how dim they were. Or if you hold it a little longer, they get bright. So he bought those also on Amazon. It came as a dual switch, and he cut it apart so they're 2 single switches. We put one there, and the other one we put over here on this set of lights over our chairs. So I'll talk a little bit down here for a minute. On this wall, Steve added some USB ports. And I think one's a USB and one's a C, a little outlet. He also added them in the bedroom by our bed because there just aren't ever enough ports for things that you need. Like right now, I have a cord going in to charge up more of my GoPro batteries. Now before, when I was going through the kitchen, I stopped this far down. I forgot the bottom half of the cabinetry. Okay, we have some nice full extension drawers in our kitchen that we've loaded up with all of our most favorite items. This one is even deep enough to hold our toaster, our percolator coffee pot for when we're boondocking, coffee grinders. The bottom one has things like plastic bags and tin foil. You sniffing, little guy? But when we first bought this motorhome, it only had a little 2-burner cooktop and no oven. The only oven is the microwave convection, which I'm really not happy with. Plus, if we're boondocking, who wants to fire up your generator just to run a convection oven to bake a couple muffins in the morning or to whip up a pizza in the evening? So we do a lot of cooking. We rarely eat at restaurants. And I missed having a propane oven. We had done a conversion in our last motorhome also, where we removed just the cooktop and put in a complete oven. So this was not our first rodeo to do this, and I'll put a link below of how we did this. But we had cut out a big square out of the countertop and added proper bracing, and we added this beautiful oven and cooktop. Down here is a little hint. This is a pizza stone. Oops. Let me see if I can grab it out of here. I'm trying to do that left-handed. There we go. This is just a pizza stone. And it helps to spread the heat evenly throughout the oven when you're cooking. It's on this bottom metal shelf underneath the grate. I don't put it on the grate. I set my cooking pan on the grate of whatever I'm baking. I also added an oven thermometer because this dial is notoriously incorrect for whatever you're setting. So that was a big thing to add this oven, but we did have to sacrifice a drawer. We took out one of these nice big deep drawers. Here's the other one. They're very deep. Actually, I have all of my kettles in here for cooking. I have 2 small saucepans, a spaghetti pot, a Dutch oven, all of our fry pans. Everything's in here. And here is a little hint. These are shower caps. What they do, Steve, you want to give me a hand? You put them when you're cooking bacon or making toast or something. You put them over your smoke alarm. Take them right down when you're done. But otherwise, they're so noisy. You hear in campgrounds all the time people's smoke alarms going off. We have 2 smoke alarms in here. The standard one up front, and in the back we have the smoke alarm along with the, what is it called, Steve? The carbon monoxide detector. Now, when we did this big switch over, got to put the shower curtain back, or shower cap back. When we did this big switch over, there was this nice little narrow drawer. And we were able to just fit it in by cutting off a teeny bit. So we didn't have to lose our silverware and knife drawer. Now, all of my drawers are lined with this heavy-duty shelf liner. It's the stuff that's used in toolboxes for tools for rattling around. This is a thin foam silverware rack tray. It keeps stuff from rattling around too much. It's pretty quiet. So that's the rest of the hints in that part of the kitchen. And over here is one of our favorite cabinets. It's only a few inches wide, but it has all the pull-out pantry drawers that we need. We really like this. There's 4 of them in here. And we load it up to the max when we go. But that is a really handy cabinet. Up here is our control center, hidden in this cabinet. There's all of our switches for the slides and all of our tank levels, battery levels, etc. That's all right there. It's called One Place. Over here's our inverter, which we don't use very often because it does draw even when it's in standby mode. Up here are holding tank heaters, and we used them last night because we got down in the 30s. And this is an interesting device. It's a propane valve switch. The propane valve, which monitors or allows you to draw propane for any of the appliances, runs on electric, and it's a safety feature. But we found it really drains on the battery. It has a very high wattage. We don't know why. A gentleman on the Winnebago group by the name of Leonard Casilla, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, I will add a link, makes this override switch. You can leave the propane on its normal flow. You can turn the valve off completely, which is handy if you're fueling up or if you're going through a tunnel where your propane needs to be off. But down here, if you put it in this position, it's a 3-way switch, it's called power save, and it greatly reduces the amount of wattage needed to operate that propane valve.